because it's not the right one. Just 1 second, please. This is what we call the direct issues, but that's fine. Okay, Grant. Now you have we have 2 cameras that have been started. Doesn't matter much. Okay. Anyway, so you will see me on 2 cameras, which is some kind of fun. Okay, Grant, I'm happy to be here. This session is about how to configure virtual page views with Matomo, and we will first see in this presentation how to use virtual page views, what they are, and what the issues they are meant to tackle. Before that, I will introduce myself, because I guess you need to know that. So my name is Jean-Marc Courtiade. I work as an independent Matomo consultant and trainer, instructor. I work with companies and organizations in France and on an international scale, in Switzerland, Europe, and worldwide. And the point is that I've been working with Matomo since the beginning. Actually, I started in digital marketing 10 years ago. I started first with Google Analytics and Piwik, which is the ancestor of Matomo. Then I moved on to other companies, and I worked in agencies, notably, where I could get some experience in web analytics, but mostly in SEO back in the days. And I switched more than a year ago a year and a half ago to Matomo Analytics, because I really like Matomo. I'm fond of open source and free software. I work most of the time with free software, and this was for me the occasion to reunite both worlds, open source and digital marketing. And I also wanted to explore other areas of the digital marketing thing. So from SEO now, I've moved on to Matomo, and pretty happy to be here and work with you this way. Okay, so now let's move on to our presentation of the day. This is about virtual page views. We will tackle what these page views are, what this means, and in the goal of this session is actually for you to understand how to track non-traditional websites with virtual page views. We will see what virtual page views are. We will see the common use case scenarios, why you would have to use a virtual page view to do that. And then we will define this and move on to a more technical point of view, we'll see how you can actually use virtual page views to tackle some kind of non-trackable websites at first. Okay, so a bit of context. This is the part 1. Actually, we have 2 or 3 parts in this session. The first part is the common case scenarios. So in this case, let's say that you work as a Matomo Analytics consultant or a web analytics consultant, and you have to implement Matomo on a website, or you are given a website for which you have to implement things. And when you look at the data, you see there are some issues. So first off, let's say that you work and you have to implement Matomo on the website. You tried a few things. Let's say you did no test at first, and then so you implement Matomo through the traditional tracking code. I guess the different. For the beginners around you, there are actually 2 tracking codes mostly that can be implemented in Matomo. There is a traditional tracking code, which is most like what Google Analytics tracking code UA code was, and there is the Matomo Tag Manager tracking code that can be also implemented into the website, on the web pages of the website, so that you can track the page views and the interactions, etc. eventually. So the point is that you integrate the tracking code on the web pages. Let's take a WordPress website. You put on the tracking code and nothing works. So this might be an issue with many things. Could be like that your Matomo is blocked for some technical reasons, your tracking is blocked, whatever. But this can be also a matter of JavaScript being implemented. We will talk about this in a while. The typical case number 2 is that you only get a few page views on your website. Typically, in this screenshot, we can see that this website only gets 1 page view per visit, which is some kind of weird, because this website is actually a big one. And what's happening is that when people go on the website, only 1 page view is triggered, is recorded, collected into Matomo. This is a this is the sign, this is the clue that there might be some JavaScript implemented on the website. JavaScript is it's actually the main issue with this kind of issues. I said issues 2 times, but whatever. Typical case number 3, the page view seems to be collected, but you discover that some parts of the website are missing from the logs. So in this case, it means that you have implemented your Matomo on the website. It works. You seem to get proper data, but eventually what's happening is that some parts of the website are not being tracked. You see that, for instance, a specific category, let's say documentation of the website, is not tracked. So what's happening is that this might be, again, an issue with JavaScript, which is hindering the collection of the data. So, okay, I'm moving forward on this presentation. And this is what's happening most of the time. So just to define, okay, what's happening here? Sorry, I had to move on to the next stage of this. The point is that you could have some JavaScript issues. If you're starting in this domain, what's happening is that you have, on the one hand, some traditional websites that work with some kind of traditional technologies like HTML, CSS, etc., JavaScript sometimes, but for some small renderings, or PHP, MySQL. For instance, WordPress works properly. So if you install a Matomo on a WordPress website, for instance, things should work properly at first. I mean, you should get all the page views being tracked. You shouldn't have any issue with that. But sometimes it tends to happen that some other websites, some other CMSs are based on other technologies. And again, they can be based on some heavy use of JavaScript. In this case, we talk about single page applications, SPA, which help the website get data like from submissions, pop-ups, or dynamic content, which is being loaded. Sorry, this presentation is a bit for beginners somehow, so I will explain some basic things so that you can get a more accurate view of what this means. So the point is that in this case, you will get some content which is that is going to be loaded, on the website, not like a traditional website where when you click on the link, on an internal link, you get another web page. Now, in this case, when you click on the link, the content is being refreshed in a dynamic way on the website. And what you can see is that the URL doesn't change, for instance. And this is a very specific way to understand that this is a JavaScript website, which is being rendered. But on the other hand, you can also have some more tricky situations where the URL changes, but the page view doesn't work. And in this case, you would have to proceed with more accurate research to find out if this is really the case. If you want to check out, for instance, if a website has got some JavaScript issues, etc., like this, and if you want to check out, for instance, the page views being sent out to Matomo, you can use, for instance, an application. I mean, this kind of a Chrome extension here called TagBird, where you will actually trigger Matomo pay-week trigger here, and even Google Tag Manager, in case your Matomo is being implemented through GTM, and you will see a small image saying that, okay, there is a page view that is being sent out to the website, and and it seems to work. But sometimes what's happening here is that you see a small, I will show you how this works, for instance, on one of my website. I will use, so in this case, let's go for this. I will use my website. I mean, this is not for advertisement purposes. This is just because it works, and I know how my website is being implemented. So you can see that the pages will be sent out to this website. This is no advertisement again. I'm not promoting myself in this way in any kind. Okay, so let's say I go on my website. Okay, doesn't matter the context here. And as you can see here, I will print out my screen here. I will just screenshot here. You have this small image, this small pop-up that has appeared, which is a pop-up from tag bird, and it shows that there is a page view that has been sent out to a Matomo account. The point is that sometimes this page view might not be recorded. Are we not going to Matomo to check out this kind of thing? You should see this page view appearing in the visits log of your Matomo account, but you can also have a look at the developer tools. So in this case, we are here. I will try to move them here. Okay, so let's go to, okay, I don't use Vivaldi, which is my browser for today, as my main browser. So now it's appearing here. Usually what's interesting for you is to use these developer tools. Just press F12 on your PC keyboard, for instance, to show them up, or just right click and look for developer tools here, or inspect. And let's go to the network section of our development tools and type in here Matomo or Matomo, whatever. And you should see here some things being sent out to the, some page views being sent out to the website. Some might be blocked. Usually you should get a 200 HTTP status. In this case, it's not working because it's done on purpose, whatever. And here you should see the page view being sent out to your Matomo account. And the point is that on some other web pages or other websites, you can have a mix of standard web rendering and JavaScript rendering. And what's happening here is that your customer, for instance, will say, okay, you have implemented Matomo, but we don't see some parts of the website being tracked. This is an issue, but you might not know it at first for some reasons. And in this case, we talk about Ajax-based websites, where some parts of the website is rendered through JavaScript. Not the whole website is using JavaScript, but some parts of the interface, or some parts, some sections of the website using JavaScript. And this is, in this case, hard to get to know it. So one of the things which is very important is to ask yourself, how can I avoid that? So at first, when you have to work on any project with Matomo, on any web analytics project, one of the questions you should ask yourself is there some JavaScript on it? So one thing to do in this case is to ask first your customer about the platform. Get to know the CMS. Is it WordPress, Drupal, Magento, etc. And for instance, if the website is a WordPress website, you have chances that there is no JavaScript implemented into it, and that this should work. But this is not always the case. Also ask the developers about any JavaScript implementation. Sometimes you might not have the chance to talk to a developer, because you would talk to the client, but they also they work with another web agency to implement the website. So you might not have all the time the chance to talk to them, but this is one way to do it. And sometimes if you find out that the website is a Magento or Drupal or some kind of complicated website, you can also find some, very advanced CMS. You can find some resources, some integration plugins on the matomo.org/integrate webpage, which is here. And in this case, you can download some, you can redirect the developers to this kind of webpage, so that they can download the proper plugin to implement Matomo on this website. And it's their job to do that. As a web analyst, it's not your job unless you're a web developer at first. Some people have this kind of technical skills, but yeah, that's one way to do it. And as you probably saw on my screen, there are 2 page views here being sent out to a Matomo account, which is a bit weird, because it means that in this case, 2 page views are being sent out to a certain Matomo account. I don't know what to think about this. Whatever. Okay, but in the case that this doesn't work, you should maybe have to look for more profound analysis. In this case, you'll find here some more advanced techniques to find if there is some JavaScript on the website. For instance, use a crawler like Screaming Frog. I come from SEO, so I have a huge use of Screaming Frog, which is a web crawler that helps you crawl the website with this. Okay, I will not get too much into Screaming Frog, but just know that you can use it as to render the website, to crawl the website in many different ways. In this case, you can use the text only rendering, which is here. It's this is actually the crawl configuration of Screaming Frog, and you go to Spider rendering, and you first choose text only. In this case, Screaming Frog, which is a web crawler, will crawl the website with a traditional way to crawl it. If nothing happens, if you have no web pages showing up, it means that the website is an entire JavaScript solution. So you won't be able to use your Matomo in a traditional way, and you will have to use some kind of a virtual page views to do that. But if you have a website where the text-only tracking, not tracking, but crawling works, but you don't know which pages could be in JavaScript, what you can do is actually to also crawl the website with a JavaScript rendering. And one trick here is to export both web pages as CSV file or Excel files format, and try to find out non-duplicate URLs in both. And the non-duplicate URLs would be the JavaScript rendered pages in this case. This is a bit technical. We can talk about this later if you want to. You can also look for some sections of the website where the URL don't change. There is no change in the URL. Sometimes on the website, you might not figure this out at first, but if you look on the website, you will find out that when you click on certain elements on the pages, the content changes, but not the URL. This is a typical JavaScript use on the website. You can also look for some fancy effects on the website. In this case, it means that you have, for instance, a WordPress website, and when you click on another pages on it, you have some nice effect on it. This is usually a JavaScript rendering, and in this case, this can block the tracking of the page views, which is pretty bad in this case. So you would have to use a JavaScript, a virtual page view to do that. The other thing that you can do also as well, if you want to look at this kind of issues, is to, for instance, use a tag which on your Matomo tag manager, and with some very easy code to use, which is a window.alert code that will show that will make this kind of message on your website. You will have a small pop-up saying, "Hey, page view okay," and you have to use this with a page view trigger, for instance. And if there is only, for instance, page view that is being tracked, and when you click on an internal link on the web page on the website, nothing show. This new web page doesn't have this kind of alert on your there is no alert showing up, no pop-up alert showing up. It means that the page views are not being tracked properly. This is a small trick to do so. And there is another trick, which is to use a change in in history. It's just a gimmick for you to remember this. The point is that you can also change in Matomo Tag Manager your trigger as an history change and not a page view trigger, so that you will get some. It might work in some cases, actually, in my experience. It's some kind of basic thing, and sometimes what you could do as well is to track standard page views, and use two triggers to with your tag management. This works best with GTM, for instance, but no, it doesn't matter whether it also works in GTM. But what you can do is use two triggers with your Matomo Tag Manager page view, which are going to be a standard page view and an history change. And if all of this doesn't work, we will move on to part 2 of this presentation, which is the use of virtual page views. Are a technical way to implement some page views on your website using JavaScript, again, using Matomo Tag Manager most of the time, or GTM, but you can also use some some other capabilities of the website to do that. Let's get into it. What is first a virtual page view? Okay, let's define this. It's a custom event in Matomo Analytics, so it's being sent out to the data layer of your of the website, and the point is that they appear not when the actual URL of the website changes, but when a certain action is triggered on the website. For instance, when you click on a link on the website, and there is this nice fancy effect showing up another web pages just before the appearance of the other pages, you can implement this kind of code. Actually, you won't have to do this yourself, because it's probably not your job. And yes, we will use the data layer for that. In Matomo, the data layer is called _.mtm. In Google, it's called data layer. So you have to know both. It's still possible to use both together. There are some code to do that. And yeah, and the point is that you will ask developers to implement some code that you will find in this presentation in a while. And yeah, in this case, developers are your friends. And yeah, you have to a bit push them if they don't want to do that. But I mean, it's their job to implement this kind of thing. Otherwise, the implementation of the basic page views won't work. So there are other ways actually to implement this kind of code. The first thing is that, okay, I talked to you, I mentioned the tag manager integration. Let's first go to the manual implementation. So in this case, you provide a certain code that you will see in a few minutes to the developers of the website, to the website developers, and they will have to figure out how to make this work. And I mean, it's a JavaScript code that sends data to the data layer, and it's their job to do that. The other thing is that you can also use the tag manager integration, Matomo tag manager, to do that, and you could be able to trigger this kind of specific code when something happens on the website. It's up to you also to figure out if you can do that or not, depending on the interactions of the website. And the last part is the use of plugins and extensions. In this case, this goes back to our matomo.org/integrate webpage, where you can download some plugins to do so. So the point is, let's get into a real life example. So in this case, there is a okay. Let's get into the website. I will talk. I cannot show you the website because this is one of my customers, and I don't want to show this to the whole world currently. So the point is that, let's say you have a website which is a WordPress website, and it has this nice JavaScript effect when you click on an internal link. So what's going on here actually is that the web pages changes, but doing a lot of research on the website, even using, for instance, the history change trigger, nothing works. There is only one page view showing up. So the point is that you will have to implement some kind of JavaScript code. I mean, some JavaScript code, not some kind of, into the website, so that Matomo can get some data into it. This is an example of the website. So in this case, let's explain what this code does. So in this case, we have a script. This is a JavaScript code, obviously, which has to be implemented when the nice effect shows up, or when the web page shows up. So it's the developer jobs to do that. Then we have a variable called mtm, and this this code is, the goal of this code is actually to look for, okay, actually in this case there is something missing, which is the _mtm. Sorry about that. Actually, what we have here is that what we're doing here is that we are asking Matomo, we're asking the website to look, and Matomo to look for any data layer. Actually, in this case, there is one thing missing, which is the underscore at the beginning here. So in this case, what's happening here? We're asking Matomo to look if there is any data layer, and if there is one, it will take it as it is, and if there is any, it will create it. And then we ask the website to push some event. So this is a data layer way to do that. We will push data in the data layer. And the first thing we have here is an event called mtm underscore PV, like page view. And then we have some variables, empty underscore URL, and with the URL of the pages. So it's in French, but it means web page URL in English. And then we have empty and title, and in this case, it means yeah, this is the title of the web page. I will correct this if you want to get more information about this. I would put this in English. And then we will have to move on to our Matomo tag manager to implement some more things. So in this case, as I said, you have to implement this code at every stage of a new web page is showing up. We have included this to variables because the website wouldn't provide actually the name of the web page, and we need this to implement this into Matomo. I mean, we need the title and the URL of the web page. I mean, which is actually the URL of the page path, so that Matomo can get the name of it, and that you can find this out in your Matomo reports, like pages, info pages, and in every sections of a Matomo, and for instance in the visits log. Because if you look at the visits log, let's go for instance into our demo account in our demo matomo.cloud. This is the Matomo cloud demonstration account. This is in French, so let's turn this into English somewhere here. Yeah, and in this case what we have is, let's go to the visits log. And yeah, in this case, we need to provide Matomo with the name of the web page, like this one, and the URL of the web page. If you don't provide this, when you won't be able to look at your data properly, obviously. And to do so, you would have to provide this kind of code in your custom event. This is a bit technical, but it's not. Yeah, it's what you have to do. I mean, what you have to do in this case, on this specific website that I talked about. How can you check out if this works? So actually, you go to when you open a console on your website, you have to type in _NTM and look at the what's happening here. I cannot show you the website because this is one of my customers in this case, and you should see actually an event being pushed, some lines here being pushed. Let's go for instance on a website. Let's go for instance on matomo.org. I don't know what they do with this. Okay, and let's go for there. Okay, I will open this. Okay, so this is my console, and let's have a look at their MTM. Yes, okay, so this is where it is. I just typed in empty _NTM, and we get here the data layer that is showing up here. So we have actually in this case 3 events that have appeared. The first one is the starting up of the tag manager, then an ID site number 12, and another thing which is the Matomo custom title. And I don't know what to do with this, but this is the way that they have implemented this way. Okay, and in this case, when you type in on the website _NTM in the JavaScript console, and again to get into this, you have to press F12 or go to the DevTools of your browser. You should get this kind of information. You should get something that looks like this with the name and the URL of the web page. And so yeah, in this case, what we would do is we will now perform some setup in our Matomo so that it can actually understand what's going on here. And to do so, you go to your Matomo Tag Manager implementation, and it's going to be a bit nerdy in this case. You have to create 2 variables. I mean, the 2 variables here are for this specific code with the mtm _URL and _title here, so that you can get the name on the web page here, if this doesn't work on the website that you work on. And so you create these 2 variables, which are meant to get the content of the data layer that appears here this way. And by the way, the developers have to figure out how to implement it's something which is very important and that I haven't talked about. It's the job of the developers to implement for each page the title and the URL of the web page here automatically, so that when the code is being triggered, when this code is triggered, when something fancy happens on the website, an animation, for instance, as I said, you would get this information automatically. And then the point is for us to grab this information in our Matomo installation. So we have for that to create two variables. The first one being mtm underscore URL and mtm title. We would get the content directly in our Matomo account. We can see this actually in our debug mode of our Matomo account. And then what's going to happen is that we also have to create a trigger. I personally work reverse from bottom to top when I use the Matomo Tag Manager. So in this case, what I do is that I first create. I mean, some people work with, they create the tags, then the triggers, then the variables. I do it on the other side. I create first the variables, then the triggers, and then the tag, all the tags, so that everything is in place when I create the tag. Yet it's up to you to figure out what works best for you. So in this case, I create two variables. Then I create a trigger, which is a custom event trigger that we start when this mtm pv underscore pv event is triggered. So when actually this code is pushed, this appears in the data layer of our account, of our website, and and this is what's going to trigger a tag. So in this case, I haven't provided the tag content, but you can do two things. First off, you can create a classic page view tag, which would be used as a classic page view tag. It's pretty obvious, but in this case, this is what you have to do when, for instance, the mtm, the URL and the title of the web page are still being sent out to Matomo, depending on the JavaScript implementation. Otherwise, you would have to create a custom HTML code. We provide it to you in a while. Sorry, I had a very busy week and I have to write this down, but I didn't have time this morning to do so. So sorry about that. And the point is that this custom HTML tag will actually send out a Matomo page view to your Matomo. It's going to be a custom JavaScript code that would send the page view. You can find some interesting information about this in the Matomo developer section. You will also send out the content of the URL and of the title through those two variables. And then Matomo will record this automatically. That's the one way to do so. It's a bit nerdy, it's a bit technical, but that's the only way to do so, to measure this kind of thing. One thing also which is important is that if you work, for instance, on a SPA website, a single page application, where the URL doesn't change, you would have to figure out with the customer what the names and the URLs, the page titles and the page URLs will be. For instance, you have a section which is called documentation. You also have a section called support, technical support, whatever. You have to figure out with the customer what are going to be the names of these sections so that they can understand it properly. Okay, Grant, I'm moving on. I see that there is a question. Thank you, Enzo. I will answer to you. And some best practices about implementing this is that you have first off to ensure that the tracking is accurate. By this I mean that if you install this kind of page views, you have to make sure that what is being tracked does actually work properly. Sometimes you might think that this should work, but you can find other sections of the website that just don't gather properly the page views, or you will have to get deeper into this to make sure that it works. You have to monitor and analyze the Virtual Pages data. It's the same thing. So it ends up to the same thing, and also make sure that the website is properly optimized for performance and speed. So, well, in this case, it means that the website will have to trigger some more events. And by the way, talking about events, make sure that depending on your Matomo installation, for instance, you have Matomo Cloud or Matomo on-premise, Matomo Cloud has you have to make sure, that your Matomo Cloud instance can handle a lot of page views, because in this case, a Matomo Cloud instance has you pay for, depending on some certain stages of actions or hits being recorded. A page view is an action, it's a hit. An event is also a hit, and using this kind of virtual pages can actually trigger some more actions. When meanwhile a Matomo on-premise installation can handle everything if your server is strong enough for that. And yeah, as a conclusion, this is a very interesting way to track websites when you cannot do that properly. But this is a more advanced way of tracking websites, and you will have to look for documentation to do so. For instance, if you want to send out some specific things, and it's a good way to learn how to use some JavaScript in your Tag Manager. If you're starting out with this on this journey, on this web analytics journey, you will learn how to create some custom JavaScript or custom HTML thing. One thing that I've talked about, by the way, if you create a if you also have to create a new variable in this case, which is going to be a specific trigger in this case, which is going to be called event as well. If you want to get some, if you want to get this kind of event being recorded automatically. And that's it for now. I see there is a question here from Enzo. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Ronan, okay. I will read the question, which is, if I want to track a supermarket with Matomo, such a virtual map of workaround, would you consider that every room visited or every new shelf is a page view, or should I use an event? I'm asking this question in order to see if we could really use Matomo in order to track other things than just websites. Yeah, okay, so virtual map, yes, you can do that. Yeah, I work with websites where the customer had implemented some maps on the websites, and yes, obviously you can track more things than just website or Android or iOS applications, which is another way to use Matomo, for instance. And yes, you can use this kind of virtual page views to track this. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. I don't know exactly what your exactly what the website would look like. I mean, what this virtual map would work like, but yeah, it's something that you can use. If you can implement a tracking code like this, this would work. Any question? No. Okay. I don't know what to tell you a bit about this. If you want to ask some more questions, we'll be delighted to answer you. So as a conclusion, one thing to remember is that you can use this kind of virtual page views to track websites that use JavaScript to render the web pages, whether single page applications or websites which are more traditional, like WordPress websites, where developers have implemented some kind of fancy animations, and you cannot get the actual page views being tracked properly. So in this case, you obviously have to use the Matomo Tag Manager, the Matomo Tag Manager, to do that. Yeah, this is some kind of a workaround. And there are so many things we can track with Matomo using, for instance, if you look at the documentation area of the website, I mean, the developer documentation on the Matomo website, you can find a lot of help to do so. I don't know. There is no more questions. I'm okay. What should I do? Okay, there is no question.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, there are no other questions in the chat. So thank you very much for your session today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. See ya. Bye.
Bye-bye. See you. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yeah, see you. You're welcome.